Before the video starts, I wanted to shout out my friends Jason0662 and Voltage Sports who have made videos about this topic already. Both of their videos are great, and Jason makes videos that you guys will really enjoy, so please go check him out. Both of the videos are in the description of this video, and if you like my videos, you will love theirs. Alright, let's get this thing started. In the state of Florida, for all of its history, the state has been dominated by 3 college football programs, and in every single ranking of the best college football programs of all time, these 3 schools have always been right next to each other. It's up to everyone to judge which one should be higher because these 3 are so close. Let's start out with the Florida State Seminoles. They've been the most recent great program, winning a national title in 2013, but they have fallen off college football, and I recently just made a video about it. Next, we have the Florida Gators, who are making a comeback in college football thanks to Dan Mullen, and have made it back to the top of the sport. And finally, we have the Miami Hurricanes, and these guys were the baddest dudes back in the day, and were led by some great coaches, and had some of the best talent on their teams that could have given an NFL team a run for its money. But these guys have not been relevant since the early 2000s, and who knows how long it will take for them to get back on top. But now I've mentioned the big 3 of Florida football, but there is one more school I haven't mentioned yet. I'm talking about the Knights of Ucf out of Orlando, Florida. UCF has been one of the winningest programs in college football the past 2 seasons. They are coming off a 25 consecutive win streak over the past 2 seasons. Despite critics thinking they can't compete with the top of college football, they've been able to. But how have they been able to turn around so quickly? UCF joined the FBS in 1996, and were an average team at best, until George O'Leary took over. George O'Leary was at UCF for 12 years, and his first season in 2004, the Knights went 0-11. But he got this program turned around quick by winning 8 games that next season. He would then go on to have 4 10 wins or more seasons, while also making 7 bowl games in his time as the Knights head coach. Most notably is the 2013 UCF team that went 12-1 and were led by Blake Bortles. The Knights went to the Fiesta Bowl and beat Baylor in the Fiesta Bowl 52-42. UCF was on the top of college football at that point, and they quickly fell off, and I mean fast. In 2014, the Knights went 9-4 and lost their bowl game to North Carolina State. And you might be asking, well, that isn't that bad. How could it get worse? Well, in 2015, UCF started out 0-8, George O'Leary resigned, and they finished the season with a record of 0-12. So the George O'Leary era started just like it ended, winless. But this was the best thing to ever happen to UCF. And this is where the story begins. After the disappointing season of going winless and being the only FBS school besides Kansas to not win a game, UCF football seemed to be as far away as possible from the outside point of view from their 2013 season. In 2015, the team lost to an FCS school in Furman in week 3, and everyone quit on the team, and they stopped believing in each other, and that's why they never won a game. And after losing to Houston 59-10 at home for the worst loss in school history, O'Leary retired, and the next day, everyone around campus didn't care about football anymore. But thankfully, UCF hired one of the next great coaches in college football in Scott Frost to become their next head coach. Scott Frost was the quarterback for the 1997 Nebraska National Championship team and was an NFL quarterback. His coaching career took off in 2009 when Chip Kelly hired him to become the wide receivers coach at Oregon. He did great things at Oregon coaching the wide receivers and teaching them how to block correctly in their pass option and fast-paced offense. When Chip Kelly left for the NFL, Mark Helfrich was promoted to head coach, and Frost was then promoted to QB coach and offensive coordinator. Oregon went on to the national championship game in their first year, had a Heisman Trophy winner, and finished top 6 every year in scoring offense and total offense. Frost was in the running for the nation's top assistant coach award in his 3 seasons there. But on November 1st of 2015, Frost was hired as the head coach of UCF and was tasked with trying to turn around the program that hit rock bottom of college football. Frost had been coached by and coached with some of the legends of the game, guys like Bill Belichick, Bill Parcells, Bill Walsh, and Tom Osborne. But when you hit rock bottom, there is nowhere else to go but up, and that's exactly what happened. The turnaround all started when Mackenzie Milton signed to play for UCF. Milton was a 3-star quarterback from Hawaii and wanted to play for Coach Frost because he saw what he did with Marcus Mariota, who Milton loved. The Griffin twins Shaquem and Shaquille were the leaders on defense. Shaquem moved from safety to linebacker, and Shaquille was entering his senior season. The team was confident and the players were ready to play hard for their new coach that built a great foundation during his first offseason. UCF got new uniforms, and everything was going to be different heading into 2016 with their new young head coach and an offense that was going to bring it. UCF in 2016 went 6-7 and lost their bowl game versus Arkansas State. The team was young and they were still getting used to their new coach, but to win 6 more games than the previous year is always a huge improvement, and fans were still excited about how things went. But 2017 was their year, and man, this is one of the craziest seasons in college football history. UCF was not ranked in the top 25 in the preseason, and they were expected to be a good team, but not as good as they ended up being. UCF ended up going 13-0 to win the Peach Bowl over Auburn. They became the first team in the history of Division I FBS to go from winless to undefeated in only 2 years. The season for UCF started out on a wild note. They first beat FIU, but a couple days later their season was temporarily put on hold for 22 days because of Hurricane Irma. 2 of their games were canceled and another was rescheduled. The team was off for 22 days, but the first thing they did after that was go straight up to Maryland and beat them 38-10. On October 1st in week 5, they were ranked in the top 25 of the AP poll. UCF was the top scoring team in the nation, averaging 48.2 points a game, and finished 5th in yards per game. UCF cruised through their season, but their final 2 games before the Peach Bowl was their hardest test yet. They played number 22 ranked South Florida and won that game in a shootout 49-42. But in the AAC championship game versus Memphis, this one was a nail-biter. UCF won in double overtime by the score of 62-55, but this victory came with a loss. Head coach Scott Frost was speculated to be interested in the Nebraska head coaching job that had recently opened. And during the game versus Memphis, reports surfaced that he would be leaving for the Nebraska job. And the reports were correct because before their matchup versus Auburn, Scott Frost was introduced as the head coach at Nebraska. UCF then hired Josh Heupel as their new head coach because they needed to make a hire quickly. The great news was Scott Frost was still going to coach UCF in the Peach Bowl versus Auburn because he wanted to finish out the job. And because Frost took almost the entire UCF staff with him to Nebraska, so they were not going to have many coaches for that bowl game. UCF went out and played extremely hard versus Auburn in the Peach Bowl and won the game 34-27, completing a perfect 13-0 season. This team didn't make the college football playoff, but they were the only undefeated team, and the team they beat in their bowl game beat the national champion Alabama. But in one of the major polls called the Colley Matrix, which was a BCS computer ranking, had UCF barely ahead of Alabama in the number 1 spot. Claiming a title is not new in college football, but it doesn't happen often when you are only number 1 in a single selector. It just hasn't happened in so long, people forgot about these things happening. So with that, the 2017 UCF Knights are able to claim a national championship, and it is definitely in the record books. After the 2017 season, UCF football lost its entire coaching staff, but that didn't change the foundation this program already made. Entering 2018, new head coach Josh Heupel is an offensive guy, and the transition was going to be smooth for the program. 2018 was an explosive season for UCF. The team didn't score less than 30 points in a game once. They finished top 5 in total offense and top 6 in scoring offense. They beat Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Temple, but they played Memphis and were so close to losing, but they still survived. They went 11-0 in the regular season, but versus USF in their final regular season game, quarterback Mackenzie Milton suffered a horrible knee injury that would end his season. In the conference championship, they played Memphis again, and they won 56-41 in a crazy comeback. UCF was ranked all season, but the highest they ever got was 7th in the ranking, which wasn't high enough to get them into the college football playoff. But now they had a date with another SEC team in LSU in the Fiesta Bowl. But they were without their starting QB, and LSU was not like Auburn last year. They started out the lead at the end of the first quarter and kept it close the entire game, but they ended up losing by 8 points and the final score was 40-32. Entering the season, UCF should still be a great team, but to repeat what they have done the previous 2 seasons is a lot to ask of them. This season should be a race between Cincinnati, Memphis, and Houston to compete with UCF for the AAC title, and it will be way more competitive this year than previous years. The turnaround at UCF is incredible, and even if you don't like them, you should still respect what they have accomplished. It is hard to compete in college football when it is dominated by a handful of programs, but UCF shows what the power of a team can do no matter who is coaching them. It all starts with a belief amongst the players, and that's exactly what happened. Thanks for watching, everyone.